Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ophir Gutelson. Thank you for being with us today. For those of you who doesn't know me, I am based in Palo Alto. I'm co-founder and leader at Unacceptable, both here in San Francisco and globally. We are today 166 days after October 7th. And we are still having 134 hostages kept in Gaza. The war is still going. We also see more and more pictures that are hard to watch from the famine in Gaza and from innocent people who are unfortunately due to this war that Hamas brought on us being killed. And we are hosting, and we are in a situation where the U.S. Israel/Netanyahu relationship is keep going in the wrong direction. We had a Democrat majority Senator Chuck Schumer. I'm sure I was doing it wrong. Speech and what came after that, and I can see Yair joined now. And other than that, we are still having the same government in Israel that is being the same government that brought us to October 7th. And today we are hosting Yair Golan. And let me see if we can bring him to the screen. Shimrit or Gershon, you're on that? We had over 900 people registered for this Zoom, so that's definitely the largest one that we had. In the meanwhile, I'll tell you that on Tuesday, hi Yair.
Hello, good evening, or
Good evening.
Good morning, or whatever is the time at your place.
In the meanwhile, I'm just going to tell you that next week on Tuesday, we are hosting Dalia Scheindlin on a speak about democracy in Israel after October 7th. And we will put the link here. Yair, welcome.
It's great to be with you. In Israel, it's about this evening. And
you're lucky because it's still you still didn't change to daylight saving, so it's 8 p.m., not 9 p.m. So you got an extra hour.
Yeah.
Yair, so just to set up the context, we have met here a couple of days after October 7th. After this horrible day that you heroically will be always remembered as someone that jumped into the fire and rescued people. And I want to ask you one question or one thought that you are taking with you. Now we are 5.5 months post October 7th, almost 6 months. What does it feel right now for you? What do you take from this? And then we will jump to what you're doing today.
Well, unfortunately, we are stuck. It's needless to say that any war, anywhere in the universe, needs some sort of goals. What are the goals of this war? I mean, what are the realistic goals of this war? Benjamin Netanyahu says that we want to destroy Hamas entirely and at the same time free all the hostages. I believe that all of us do understand that it's impossible. You need to choose. You need to define priorities. What are the priorities of Israel? I would like to define four main priorities. The first one is to free all the hostages as soon as possible. I think that it's not just because we have such a strong moral commitment to them. It's not just because it's the lives of 134 human beings, our citizens. It's more than that. It's about the cohesiveness of the Israeli society. It's about our willingness not just to talk about unity, it's also about the practice of unity. It's about Kol Israel Arevim Ze Leze. It's about whether right and left, ups and downs, are willing to share at least one common goal to free all the hostages as soon as possible. So I think it's crucial to the destiny of the Israeli society and therefore crucial to the destiny of Israel as a state. So this is the first goal. In order to achieve this goal, we need to reach some sort of a
Yair,
yeah. Are you with me? Oh, all right. In order
no,
to
no,
free all the
I
hostages.
was, yeah, we can hear you. I was wondering if this the internet is in my end. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. In order to free all the hostages, we need to reach some sort of an agreement with Hamas. And we won't be able to reach any agreement with Hamas without stopping the war fighting. I think it's so reasonable and so, a matter of common sense that, there is no other way. So therefore, we need to ask ourselves, what are the other goals of this campaign? And I would like to define the next three goals. Well, so the second
Yair,
one is,
can I hold on for a second? Yeah,
yeah,
can you hear
yeah,
me?
yeah.
Awesome. I was being told on the chat that I not everyone is actually know your background, and I was like, oh wow, okay, I need to do that. So for those of you who doesn't know, and then we'll jump back to the questions.
My suggestion
Yair
is,
Golan.
just a minute. Let me finish this part
Okay.
and then I'll describe my background, all right? If
Okay, sounds
you,
good. Go ahead.
yeah. So first, we need to free all the hostages. The second thing, we need to isolate the Gaza Strip from any external military support. And since we do not conquer the area of the border between the Gaza Strip and Egypt, we need some other entity, maybe American, maybe the American force along the border between Israel and Egypt, the MFO, or maybe other entities, other forces that could take, responsibility to prevent any further transfer of weapons from Iran straight to Sudan, Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, and the Gaza Strip. Because this is one of the most important imperatives of counter-terror and counter-guerrilla warfare. You need to isolate the militants from any external support. It's a professional matter, not a political one. The third goal is to keep freedom of action in our hands in order to fight any further threats from the Gaza Strip. And freedom of action is about land warfare, not about aerial attacks. Because it's impossible, just impossible, to destroy militants just by air power. And the fourth goal is to find a reasonable solution for the civilian matters of the Gaza Strip for the next coming month, maybe years. And that could be done only by the support of external regional forces like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates. And that could be done only by bringing into the Gaza Strip some elements of the Palestinian Authority. So when Benjamin Netanyahu says that I have no intention to let the Palestinian Authority to enter the Gaza Strip, first, I would like to ask why? What is the problem? Did you find up to now more moderate element for the Palestinians? I don't think so. And secondly, do you believe that any nation on earth will take responsibility for the Gaza Strip without some sort of legitimacy provided by the Palestinian Authority? So, all in all, you can understand that up to now, Israel has no intention to finish the war. Israel has no vision to finish the war. Israel has no vision how to continue and to fulfill the military achievements by some sort of a political movement, of political advancement. And this is a shame. And therefore, I claim that without replacing this government, it's impossible to move forward in order to reconcile the situation in the Gaza Strip, and as a consequence of that, reaching some sort of a calm situation along the northern border. So think about it. We are almost half a year after the eruption of the war, and there is no prospects, no hope for better situation. We are stuck. And now you ask me, well, about myself. So for those who don't know me, I served in the IDF for 38 years. I started my service as a young paratrooper back then in 1980. I finished my service as the Deputy Chief of Staff. In between, I think that I got much operational experience in Lebanon, along the Syrian border, in Judea and Samaria, and in the Gaza Strip. I would say that I fought quite a lot in these years, and it's quite, natural. Well, at least by the end of the day, 38 years in the army. And I saw the deterioration of the Israeli society and the corruption of the political echelons, I would say since 2015. And I made a speech that today I can call it a visionary speech in 2016, in the Holocaust Day. And I called at that speech to improve our national leaders, our national leadership. I did it, I think, quite gently, but I was terribly attacked by the government, by the right in Israel, and in fact, that's end my military career. It's okay, I'm quite satisfied with my career, but after that, after I finished my military service, I decided that the situation is so terrible that I cannot stay at home. I cannot, take some, nice job with good salary and spend the rest of my life traveling the world and giving speeches here and there. So instead of that, I jumped to the cold water and the stormy water of the Israeli politics. I started my political journey with Ehud Barak in 2019. We didn't succeed much. And then I was in the coalition of, in the cluster of העבודה, מרצ, and Orly Levy Abaxis. It was quite terrible. Then I ran with the Meretz party for the fourth round elections, and we didn't manage to pass the threshold on the fifth round. And since then, I swear to reestablish the Zionist left in Israel. And today I'm going to run for the primaries in the Labour Party in order to unify all leftist parties in Israel, all members of the protest movement that are willing to fight for the destiny of Israel, for Israel as a democratic liberal state. And I would like to invigorate not just the left, but I would say all democratic liberal elements in the Israeli society to become a prominent political entity. This is the goal, this is the mission,
So,
and it's much work, much work. And I think that part of this vision is to bring the diaspora to be more and more active in order to determine the destiny of Israel, because I believe that Israel is the homeland of all the Jewish people, and therefore we need to work together in order to save Israel. It's a matter of all of us.
Yair,
Yeah.
you mentioned a very good part of your career was in the army, and a short part was in politics. One question that is keep coming up is that we are seeing a lot of politicians coming from the army, right? But they're in a way, but we always end up with Netanyahu as the prime minister. What's going to be different in your politics, or what have you learned so far about the Israeli politics that could make you a different leader than other generals that came from the army?
I would say two things. The first is October 7th. October 7th is a trauma, is a huge trauma. It's a bigger trauma than October 6th, the Yom Kippur War. So I think that right now, many people in Israel understand that we need to change the course, we need to change the direction, and we need to do something which is radically different. And I think that here I can provide a much better vision for Israel. This is one thing. The second thing is about the quality of leadership. I believe that cooperating with Netanyahu is wrong. I don't understand why Benny Gantz is still in the government. I don't understand why Gadi Eisenkot is still in the government. I think it's totally wrong. We cannot start the recovery process of the Israeli society as long as Benjamin Netanyahu in power. We cannot start it as long as Itamar Ben-Gvir is a minister, as Bezalel Smotrich is a minister, as Orit Stuk is a minister. The extreme right today in Israel, that really extreme right, persons that are totally incapable to handle any public issue in Israel, well, they are in power. So we need to change them. And in order to do that, we need strong, courageous, and determined leaders. I think this is something I bring with me. And the fact that, I have few predecessors that didn't succeed, well, that's mean nothing. Because it's hard to succeed in the political arena. And I would like to mention, a few other figures that were quite successful, like Rabin, like Sharon. So it's impossible to say that journalists or salesmen or, I don't know, lawyers are more successful. It's not a science. It's a hard business, terrible arena. Without the emergency situation in Israel, I wouldn't have even imagined going into the political arena. But the situation right now is so terrible that I cannot sit aside and playing with my granddaughter and enjoy it, entirely, because life are so good.
So part of this destruction government, it has three legs, right? It has Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Smotrich, which is again the messianic Zionism, and the ultra-Orthodox, right? And those are the combination. This is the combination that kind of like brought on us the judicial overhaul. Each one of them from different reasons. I want to so I think that if assuming that there are elections, there is election coming up, and we are dealing with a new liberal Democrat government coalition. I want to tackle 2 points. One is dealing with the what we call the equality law, where we need to bring ultra-Orthodox to be equal in general, equality in general. And the other one is to talk about Messianic Zionism. So I want to share a video, and I'm not sure if my internet is that good, but for today, for some reason, let me share a video of Achim Laneshek, brothers and sisters in arm, having a discussion with the Jerusalem fraction rabbi. It's a 20 seconds video, and then we will talk about it. Just a second, let me share this video. Share screen. I want to share this one, and with sound. Share. I hope you can see the video.
כאילו רק במגזר מסוים, זה כבר ברמה של סכנה קיומית.
לי יש 30 או 40 נכדים ונינים. אם היו שואלים אותי, מה אתה מעדיף? הערבים יהרגו אותם, הם יהיו חילוניים. הייתי מעדיף שיעברו את הראשונה. חניון אצלנו זה מעבר למוות. יש לו צבא, הוא כור היתוך, התרבות הישראלית שהיא חילונית. אנחנו לא הולכים לעשות משהו יותר גרוע מהמוות. הוא צריך לאכול חזירים ולא להיות במקום של חברה חילונית, מאידיאולוגיה חילונית. זה תת תרבות, זה פיגור הכי גדול, זה פשע.
השיחה הזאת מתקיימת בעברית, אבל כשמקשיבים לה, מבינים שאלו שתי שפות שונות.
אנחנו נמצאים בסיטואציה שאנחנו כציבור, אנחנו לא רואים מצב שמה שהיה המשיך להיות. אחרי 7 באוקטובר, אנחנו נמצאים בעולם חדש לגמרי במובן השלילי שלו.
Okay. Stop share. Okay.
It's terrible. It's so terrible. It's unbelievable.
It's terrible to see it. Just FYI, there are more videos that we're translating or trying to translate on the Unacceptable website, because those are the stories that are not coming to the US media, and we want to bring what's happening really in Israel. Now, again,
this is really unacceptable.
This is really unacceptable. How do we square this circle or circle this square, or how do you do that?
I think that it's wrong.
Yair, before that, give just a general description about how big is the size of this community. I mean, it's not a small community anymore, right? It's like 20%, 30% of the population.
No, it's 13% of the ultra-Orthodox, of 13% of the
13?
population.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would say the following. There is, well, first of all, it's not a one society. It's a society with a lot of segments, and the opinion, the extreme opinion expressed by this rabbi is not the only one. But more than that, once we, a few years ago, we still had this culture of manhig gadol, the leader of the generation, the most prominent figure that everyone, without any hesitations, follow them. These, great leaders, great rabbis. It's irrelevant anymore. There is no one authority or two pillars of authority in the ultra-Orthodox society. So right now, we need to think about the young generation, not about these, elderly rabbis. And I think that future leaders in Israel need to talk straight to the people, straight to the young people, and demand them take responsibility. You are too large, you are too powerful, you are too big, you need to take responsibility. We have no intention to fight for you and die for you, and you do nothing. We have no intention to work for you, to pay taxes for you, and you do nothing. This is totally unacceptable. And I think that the main or the most important issue right now is to make sure that after the next election, they won't be in power. They won't be part of the coalition. They will be in the opposition. And by doing that, we will be able not to force them. By forcing someone, it's just create, all kind of resentments. We need to convince them. But while we are in power and they have no power, it's much easier to make this process more acceptable. So I would say that soft power and talking not to the rabbis, to the young people, it's much more productive and constructive concerning, this willingness to struggle with them and to have, visible conflict with them. I still think that the ultra-Orthodox are part of my people. I want them to be with me. I treat them as my brothers and sisters. And we need to handle this process in the most, I would say, sophisticated manner. Let's do it together. Let's work together. Let's be realistic. We want to achieve, 100% success by days, weeks, or months. We need to handle this process. And this is the meaning, again, this is the meaning of having a visionary leadership. We need to look deep into the future, and we need to work in a well-deliberated process in order to change the ultra-Orthodox society. I believe it's possible. I think I have all the evidence, all the possible evidence to say that it's possible. But we need to be patient, we need to be well-deliberated, and we need to be in power in order to start this crucial process of changing of opening the boundaries of the ultra-Orthodox society.
And just for our audience to know, I mean, this is one of the potential obstacles in front of this government that they have promised to make a bypass draft law to the ultra-Orthodox that is having a lot of people on the streets against it, obviously.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
That's potentially one of the reasons why this government could fall. The other leg of this government is the Messianic Zionism, right? Of people that are believing in and we covered here with Yair Norai a couple of times this topic. Right now, they're represented in the government. They are a minority in Israel, but they're representing in the government by Ben Gvir, Smotrich, and others, even some people in the Likud. And they have been in there. They came to power because of this anomaly of this election. But on the other hand, they are already really like in a lot of systems within, we call it systemic messianism, right? It's like they're sitting deep in the army, on budgets, on other places. How do you dismantle this systemic messianism when you get to power? Because is it about budget? Is it about other things? What are your thoughts?
Well, this is another reason why we need to change, to have a major political change in Israel. As long as they are in power, it's impossible to change and to lessen the influence of the most threatening element in the Israeli society for the existence of Israel. I claim that the term you used,
Systemic
Messianic
messianism.
Zionism, yeah. There is nothing like it in the real world. The minute you adopt a messianic approach, you are not Zionist. You're not Zionist. Zionism was about a homeland for the Jewish people, and at the same time, free, democratic, egalitarian state. They don't want freedom. They don't want equality. They don't want democracy. So they are not Zionist. And I think that it's not just about changing the political situation in Israel. It's also about a process. We need to say loud and clear, Israel should have borders. In the borders of Israel, we will have a vast Jewish majority because this is the homeland of the Jewish people. It's impossible to think about homeland for the Jewish people without vast Jewish majority. It's our right, and it's the only possibility to sustain a Jewish entity in the Middle East. But at the same time, we want this nation to be democratic, free nation. And we can't achieve it while controlling others, while having millions of Palestinians as subordinates, as people without civil rights. It's just impossible. So therefore, we need to have borders. In the borders, we will have vast Jewish majority, free democratic state. What is the situation in the other part of, the Mandatorian Palestine or the Mandatorian Eretz Israel? In the other part, we will keep this opportunity for the Palestinians to have their own state. But it's not just a matter of us. It's also about them. So in this portion, in this part of the land, we will keep their ability to establish their own state, but at the same time, we'll keep our responsibility for security in our hands. And as long as we cannot trust their willingness or ability to fight terrorism, we will keep it in our hands. So we have no intention to neglect or to compromise our security. But we have a vision. And according to our vision, it's better for Israel, it's better for us, it's better for the Zionist project to split the country, to stick with the principles of the partition plan, and to keep more or less the same proportions as we have by the end of the Independence War.
So I mean, you kind of like answered my question. That was like, in order to keep Israel democratic, Jewish and democratic state, what would be, right? What would need to happen? And do you see this as part of a bigger strategy for security in the region? Or do you think that this should be like, we should first solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and only then expand it to the rest of the countries? Of our Saudi Arabia and others?
Well, first we need to say, and we need to say it loud and clear, that we are not going to wait for them to cooperate. We need the courage and the willingness to conduct unilateral measures. That's in order to move forward. That's in order to take the initiative. That's in order to take responsibility for our destination. But I think it's much better to consolidate this process and to strengthen this process by some sort of a regional arrangement. And now we have an opportunity. The common interests concerning coping with the Iranian threat means that we have much in common with the Emirates, with Saudi Arabia, with Egypt, Jordan, and maybe other nations in the Middle East. And therefore, we need to work hard with them. And we need to work hard with the rest of the international community, and especially with the United States of America, in order to move forward with some sort of a regional arrangements that will ensure, on the one hand, the security of Israel, and on the other hand, the ability to achieve some sort, or to start some sort of a reconciliation process with the Palestinians. So both interests, having a strong, solid front against Iran, and at the same time, starting a reconciliation process with the Palestinians, both of them are crucial for the destiny of Israel. So you can understand that all I'm talking about is how to ensure and how to secure the safety of the Israeli citizens. This is my main consideration. And I think that most Israelis, even today, do not understand the scale and the complexity of the Iranian threat, and to what extent we must have some sort of a regional alliances, and at the same time, the strong support of America. Both issues are crucial to our national security. So let's move forward with both of them. And as I mentioned by the start of this discussion, in order to have a regional support, we need to move forward with some positive prospects concerning the Palestinian front.
Yair, when we look on the polls, which are now look like, again, the current coalition has about, 45 seats in the Knesset out of 120, and the others are more. I mean, obviously having the majority, but this majority means that basically somehow the central left, together with our parties, these are the non-coalition parties, together with Lieberman and others, need to all come together and sit together. So it means like you and Gantz and
Lieberman,
our party. How do you square this puzzle?
Well, I think that right now it's too early to predict the shape of the political map in the next elections. There are so many uncertainties, that it's almost, unbelievable. look how many figures are on the bench right now. Naftali Bennett and Yossi Cohen and Gideon Sar. Well, we don't know where is he heading, right now. And I think that by unifying the Meretz Party and the Labour Party and bring prominent figures from the protest movement into the politics, we have this, ability to establish a new leftist Zionist camp, strong camp, prominent in the Israeli political arena. So it's too far away, the next elections. And the situation is so unstable that it's really hard to predict the outcome of these elections on what will be the next coalition. I can
But
tell you that
do you agree that the next coalition must include the Arabs party in order to give at least equal fight to the ultra orthodox?
I think we must have them in the coalition, regardless, the political necessities. If we want the Arabs in Israel, 21% of the population, to be a constructive, positive element in the Israeli society, we want them to be in the coalition. What's the problem with it? I don't understand it. Is it so hard to imagine a situation where the next health minister is Arab, or the next welfare minister is Arab, or the next energy minister is Arab? What's the problem with it? I would like to have it. I love this idea of, being in the same coalition, being in the same government. It's not a problem. Look at this war. Bedouins from the south, the most neglected element in the Israeli society, did some remarkable things in order to save Jewish lives. Is it true? Of course it's true. So they suffer exactly like us. They fought, shoulder to shoulder, exactly with us. And they did all they could in order to support the devastated communities from the enveloping area of the Gaza Strip. What they need to show more than that in order to be considered as a faithful, constructive element in the Israeli society. Let's work with them. For many, many years, the right tend to emphasize negative elements in the Bedouin society. But I can assure you that most of them, the vast majority of them, are constructive and positive and work hard in order to be a constructive element in the Israeli society, sometimes against all odds. So it's again a matter of leadership. We need positive leadership. We need constructive leadership. We need a leadership with a vision. If you think about the homeland of the Jewish people, with a Jewish flag and a Jewish anthem and a Jewish symbols and a Jewish Shabbat, Saturday, as a non-working day, how would we able to convince Arab that at the same time it's also their own homeland? It's only by equality. It's only by making Israel the most egalitarian nation in the world. So yes, it will be the homeland of the Jewish people, but I want any Arab in Israel to feel safe and free, and I want him to love this country.
And do you think that
and it is possible. It is possible. And I claim that over and over again. And if you want to be to take something which is more convincing than my speech, please visit any Israeli hospital in Israel. It's a microcosmos of unbelievable cooperation between the two nations in the Israeli society.
So we spoke about many part of the country in Israel, and let's just talk a little bit more about the Jewish and Israeli Americans. I mean, we are experiencing here obviously what I kind of like call political anti-Semitism, which is like a lot of criticism about what's happening in Israel, about the Messianic people, and our acts and our fight in Gaza. But obviously there is also what we call the walk movement. But you spoke on Sunday, I think, if I recall right, and you criticized the walk movement, which we all kind of like understand why. But we need to understand also that there is part of this movement which are also young Jewish Americans, right? Young Jewish Americans who believe, right, that that kind of like lost hope from the Zionist project, right? And so I think that what you're describing as visionaries actions that are happening in Israel, we would love to hear from you probably, like, how do you think that we can bring closer the young generation in America, the Jewish young generation, that into belief back in Israel and its values? Because in the last 20 years, all they have seen, like I think like in Israel, I mean, can you name other prime minister other than Netanyahu? And like, no one knows. What do you think could be a good path for getting the Jewish diaspora young generation? Because the older generation obviously still have hope, I believe. The young generation is kind of like seeing themselves need to take the underdog position. The underdog is obviously not the occupiers. Thought about that?
Yes, of course. I would say the following. First, it's just another reason why Israel should stick with its democratic, egalitarian values. We cannot disconnect ourselves from the West. We cannot disconnect ourselves from most of the Jews in the world that live in the West, most of them. So therefore, it's just another reason, not the only one, but very important one, why Israel should stick with its democratic egalitarian values. Because this is the only way to convince Jews in the diaspora that we are one, that they should identify themselves and stick with Israel and support Israel. This is one thing. The second thing, I say it, regardless the walk movement, which is a kind of a twisted version of basically good values. Ben-Gurion says, over and over again, that without our intellectual qualities and without our moral qualities, we won't be able to survive in the Middle East. And I would like to say here, loud and clear.
Just a second,
that,
someone, just a second. I don't know who is taking the screen.
I don't know. I think that you have lost control over this session.
What's going on? Okay, we're back.
All right. Yeah. So I would say that Ben-Gurion says over and over again that without keeping our intellectual qualities and moral qualities, we won't be able to survive in the Middle East. And right now, we inflict terrible hits on our moral status. So we need to go back and to find the moral core of Israel. And the moral core of Israel must be according to the Declaration of Independence. we wrote it in the most terrible time in the history of Israel, back then, before the Declaration of Independence. While 5 Arab militaries were ready to invade the newborn state. And at the same, in this, crucial moment, we call the Arabs, the Palestinians, to live with us peacefully, to be a constructive element in the Israeli society, to do something good for both nations. So let's, go back to these principles and let's implement them in order to save Israel and in order to rebuild a constructive future for Israel. We can do it. This notion that everything is fall apart is misperception. The vast majority of the Israeli population want Israel to be a strong democracy. The vast majority of Israelis do not adopt messianic approach. The vast majority of Israelis, although are under trauma from October 7th, do understand that without some sort of regional arrangement, without moving forward with some sort of I would say, arrangements like we have achieved with Egypt and Jordan, we won't be able to survive here. Most of Israel's citizens do understand it. So now we have a common mission to provide these positive elements enough political power in order to take responsibility, in order to lead Israel to a more promising future. We can do it. And I ask you to be involved and to help all Democrat liberal elements in the Israeli society in order to become stronger and stronger from day to day. I can tell you that personally, I'm in a campaign, and I run not just for the Labour Party. I run in order to take the Labour Party and make it a core element in the new evolving liberal democratic camp of Israel. We need to have clear-cut vision. We need to know where are we heading. And it's not so hard to figure out where, because we have the principles of the Declaration of Independence. And then after that, we need to move on a way with much stamina, with strong, courageous leaders, and we need to do it in the most decisive manners. And this is not, I don't use terms from the battlefield, because of my experience. I think that Israel is in a very crucial point in time. Israel is entering a new era. This is the era of decisiveness. We cannot put aside anymore the huge problems of Israel and say, all right, let's wait with it. Let's, make some sort of daily arrangements in order to bypass the big problems. No, we can't do it anymore. Right now, we need to tackle the most problematic issues, but we need to do it with much patience, and we need to do it in a process that won't tear the Israeli society from the inside. And meanwhile, in order to lead such a process, we need strong leaders.
Yair, this was a really, really inspirational talk, at least for me. I know that a lot of Israelis are, and we are almost on time, but we started a little bit late, so I hope you can stay with us another couple of minutes. And thank you everyone for staying.
No problem.
Also, I came back from Israel and 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the felt was that most Israelis are in trauma. I mean, they are really, and that could be totally understandable. And you also, it also feels like, again, I mean, like everyone is going to the right, not to the left. I mean, they don't think that October 7 was an
failure of the
alarm.
right. October
And
7th was the failure of the right, not of the left. We weren't in power. The right was in power.
the right was in
Both.
power.
Yeah.
The right was in power
Yeah.
for many, many years, and the conception that we talked about a couple of times over here on the Zoom.
Yeah.
How do you, I mean, I see that your title on your campaign is the Democratic, right? This is, I think
Yeah.
it's called. How do you envision, I mean,
Democrats.
help us imagine how do you, being on one hand perceived very leftist in the past, going through October 7, through the heroic effort, and being super welcomed now as a mainstream, how do you feel like you can bring more people to understand that left Zionism or liberal Zionism is the way to go? And that would be my last question. And I try to summarize many questions from the chat. And I'm sorry if I didn't get everyone. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, you know, I can tell you one thing. I travel a lot all over Israel, and I think that I have much discussions with all elements from the Israeli society. There is a change. There is a change. If yesterday I met, you know, a woman that told me the following: all my family used to vote for the Likud, but right now we are going, all of us, to vote for you. October 7th is the awakening call for the Israeli society. And yes, there are elements that, because of October 7th, will move to the right, even to the extreme right. But I think that more and more people do understand that this, you know, blunt discussions, this, you know, fake, vigorous elements cannot save Israel and cannot lead Israel. They are the ones who failed on October 7th. They were in control. They had their opportunity. And they destroyed Israel from the inside and tore apart the Israeli society since they established their government in early January 2023. So now it's a time for change. Maybe it's the last opportunity to save Israel. And therefore, we need all of us to feel a sense of urgency. So please come together, call me, contact me, and help in any possible manner in order to change the political situation in Israel. Because the political situation is a starting point. Even by having much more reasonable government, tomorrow morning, we will have much work to do. It's a process. It is an historical process. But we need to start somewhere. And we cannot start with this process as long as Benjamin Netanyahu in power. So we need to replace him, and we need to replace his partners. It's possible. So I'm in a campaign right now. I do not wait for a declaration of the Knesset that we are going to dismantle ourselves, you know, tomorrow morning. I am in a campaign, and we need to conduct this campaign in the most professional manner. And we need to work hard. And I need your help. I can't do it alone. I need your help. And I think that by contact Ophir and directly me and my staff, we will find a way how to do it better, how to convince others. Yeah.
Yair, I mean, like, we are definitely continuing from here to push for both saving Israeli democracy, but also making it a much better Jewish democratic liberal state. For those of you from San Francisco, I mean, and other places around the country, I mean, contact your chapters. We are starting to go out back to the streets, demanding new leadership, and calling for those messianic government that they disgrace our Judaism. And those who are in San Francisco will have a special virtual rally on Sunday. We'll reach out to you. And I will send on my with the recording a link that you can all contact and sign up for to be in touch with Yair. Yair, I really want to thank you for taking the time in the evening. It was inspiring, and I hope that we will meet here again when there is election date soon, hopefully before the end of 2024. And we will stand in solidarity here with you and all the other candidates. And by the way, we forgot to say that MK Rabbi Gilad Kariv partnered with you, and he will be on a Zoom with us in about 2 weeks. We will let everyone know. So thank you, everyone, for being here. We are over time. And we'll meet again.
So, thank you very much. I feel that I have wonderful partners. Gilad and Naama and Ram Shefa, all of them are great partners. We are going to have primaries for the Labour Party on May 28th. And I hope that we will lead from the front as a prominent element in the Israeli political arena as soon as possible. This is the chance for Israel. These are the prospects for Israel. This is the hope. Let's do it together. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. Good night.
Good night. Have a good day, everyone. Be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.